Good to go. That's loud. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to our September 16th council meeting. The time is 6:01. We're going to call the meeting to order. Next item is approval of the agenda. Motion reads that the agenda for council meeting of September 16th be approved as presented. Can I have a mover and seconder? Councillor Kirkby, Councillor McConnell, any discussion? All in favor? Carried, thank you. Item 3 is declaration of interest. Are there any declarations of interest tonight? Seeing none, we'll move on. 4 is presentations, which there are none tonight. And 5 is a delegation. Who's not here, so that will have to go on the next meeting. Okay.
Well, this has happened before. I was just wondering if we could slide it a little further in the meeting. If he doesn't show up in 10 or 15 minutes, fine. Put it on because it is. We do have information in regards to it. I mean, I don't really care one way or the other, but if he's 5 minutes late, I don't know where he's coming from.
He's on a Zoom.
Oh, all right.
No traffic then.
Okay.
I was looking
Sorry.
at.
Well, this has been good because he's just arrived.
Oh, wow. How about that?
It worked in his favor.
Yeah.
Daniel Segal? Welcome.
Thank you.
Welcome to the Town of Prescott's council meeting. Well, we have some of your information. Just to let you know, we've got 10 minutes for your delegation, okay?
Perfect. Do you want me to start right away or
Might as well, you're up.
Fantastic. Thanks for hearing me today. My name is Daniel Siegel. I'm a Tarion builder located in Toronto, Ontario. I've been doing laneway houses and garden suites for the last few years, and I'm here today to encourage the municipality to consider municipal housing developments. So that's a big bunch of words, and basically what I'm proposing is that some of the housing needs that your municipality has may not be addressed by the private sector. And with that statement, I'm here to provide maybe some options, at least have a conversation about the municipality doing, whether it's attainable housing, affordable housing, seniors housing, transitional housing, with the idea that there's a municipal debt offering, raise some capital, build some houses, and then exit those positions within a reasonable time period, either through selling them privately, selling them publicly, transferring them to a different organization. But the idea here is to churn housing. So build it and then get out of the position and then build something else. I think that the underlying feature here is that there isn't one solution to the housing crisis, and that building a little bit of pretty much everything will do a lot of people a lot of good. I have before you a cover letter with a draft resolution with the steps that open the door to this type of conversation primarily. And that's really the first step. I'm not trying to necessarily sell you anything. I'm trying to address the issue from a broader perspective with real answers. That's pretty much my presentation. Generally, what happens at this point is that with other municipalities, that is, it generally gets postponed for staff to do a report. It's only happened once that a municipality has voted on the draft resolution that they have before them, but it's happened. And that's pretty much the crux of it. Everything else is either details or a temporary problem that we could easily address. And that's my presentation. Thanks for hearing me today.
Thank you. I'm going to open it up for questions and see if the council members have questions for you, Daniel.
Certainly.
Anyone have questions? So we do have no questions. Okay, Justin.
Thank you. Through you, Mayor Shankar. Daniel, can you tell me, have you built homes with communities or municipalities across Ontario yet? Have you had any experience in this field?
No, I haven't built anything for a municipality yet. I'm a general contractor. I take direction and I do what's asked of me. I don't necessarily see there being a difference between a homeowner giving me instructions or a municipality. Only one's probably faster than the other. Beyond that, the Ontario Building Code in Ontario is the same. Financing is similar. So no, I don't have direct experience working with municipalities. That being said, I have approached every single municipality in Ontario, hopefully to find a partner that's willing to work with me.
Thank you.
All right, Daniel, thank you. So we do have some information that you sent us. We will have staff look at it and we will get back to you. Thank you for coming through to us via Zoom.
Thanks for having me. All the
Thank you.
best.
Bye now.
Bye-bye.
All right. Okay, we're going to move on to item 6, minutes of the previous council meeting. Under item 6.1, the approval of the council minutes, motion reads that the council minutes dated September 3rd, 2024 be accepted as presented. Can I have a mover and a seconder? Moved by Councillor Burton, seconded by Sir Kirkby. Any discussion on that? Councillor McConnell?
Thank you, Mayor Shankar. As you all know, I kind of faded into obscurity during our last meeting. I did get the impression, thanks to Councillor Kirkby over there that suggested it, that I'd be allowed to address the report that came to council which is in the minutes of the last meeting. At this meeting, since I was interrupted last time. So if nobody has any objections there, I will do so. And thank you for allowing that. I thought about this for a whole week, what to say here. In all honesty, it took me totally by surprise last week. I hadn't prepared anything. I was completely surprised last Friday when I saw it on the agenda. I attempted to contact the Integrity Commissioner and was not able to due to the vagaries of the internet where I am, and also due to the absolute piece of garbage that I have for an iPad, which has been a problem all this term. The last correspondence I had with the Integrity Commissioner was the end of July. And I asked her, and it was not Tony Fleming, because he has the ability to assign it to anybody that he feels like assigning it to, that he feels is capable of doing the report. And it was a lady, a lawyer in his firm that has actually looked into all of the complaints against me since last summer. So we got to feel that we never wanted to hear from each other again, if you know what I mean. But when I spoke to her in July, I asked her point blank, when do you think this report will be ready? She said it'll be ready for September. I explained that I wasn't going to be here for the first meeting. I explained the problem with the internet. And I asked if it could be sent so that it would be on the second meeting, which is, I was intending to address it. She indicated that that was possible. And so you might imagine my surprise when it was on last week's agenda. I don't know how that happened, I emailed the integrity commissioner when I got back and inquired as to how that happened, and I actually got an answer from Tony Clement. The lady lawyer who looked after this is no longer with the firm, so I can't ask her anything. And he had no record of my conversation with her. So there you go. Anyway, I'm not going to prolong this, but there's a lot that I could say, but I would just like to make a few points. It was my intention to make some comments after the Integrity Commissioner delivered their first report on the complaints from last summer, and there was a lot of comment to me and in the public, well, why didn't you? You were very quiet about the whole thing. What council didn't know at the time, except for the one person who had made the complaint, was another complaint had been made about me before that had been concluded. And I elected not to say anything because why would I stir up any more problems when I have another complaint lodged? So I thought, okay, well, when they find on that one, I'll say something. And before that one, I had two more. And before that one, I had this one tonight. So it's been ongoing. And I haven't felt free to comment on any of them until now. One of the questions that I had for the Integrity Commissioner when I was able to contact him was, are there any more outstanding? And he indicated that there were not, that I was aware of all the ones who had been outstanding or that had been outstanding. I also asked him, and this is a question that Councillor Kirkby commented on back in February when the first one came to council. You indicated you were surprised that the complainant was not identified. I wasn't, because the same complainant had just lodged another complaint. So I didn't, but I have been very surprised, and I made that comment to him, that these people who are complaining have not been identified. And I asked him why. And the integrity rules that we have that reply to the Integrity Commissioner indicate that if he decides, he may not identify the people who are lodging the complaints. His response to me was that according to the rules of the integrity complaints, he is not to identify the people. That's the difference. The same difference as I encountered in the first group of complaints that I had, because I never received the complaint. How do you answer a complaint when you've never received it? All you've got is the Integrity Commissioner's opinion of the complaint. I asked for the complaints from last summer to be sent to me, and according to the integrity code, it doesn't say it may be sent on the discretion of the Integrity Commissioner. It says shall be. Shall be. That means I should have got the complaint. I never did. But since those complaints were so ridiculous, I didn't even respond to them. And as we all know, the Integrity Commissioner ruled in February that nothing I did or said went above the level of the code of conduct, and the complaint was dismissed. The next thing I got was 4 more complaints from the same member of council. Those 4 I simply did not do. It wasn't a question of whether I breached a certain level or not. I didn't do it. The Integrity Commissioner found that, and I was declared not guilty of any of those. Hot on the heels of that then came the complaints in regards to the Heritage Committee. those complaints, I was found guilty of 2 of those complaints. One, I freely admit, quite frankly, I didn't realize I was violating the code at the time. And I apologize for that, but it didn't seem to me like it was a violation. I admitted that we had discussed a particular topic in camera. I gave no indication of what those discussions were. I gave no information about what had been discussed. The integrity commissioner referenced that, said it was a minor violation. However, the major violations in that complaint in regards to the Heritage Committee, I was found guilty of, and I take exception to that. And the reason I take exception to that is because, and this I could not tell you before the meeting, and Mary, Councillor Campbell asked not last week, but last meeting, why I hadn't said anything the last time the report came to the committee. And I gave her one of 2 reasons, and unfortunately I got cut off and I didn't give the other one. The one reason was, and I do mean this, I find that if somebody's sitting in the audience and you got something to say, well, you might not put it the way you would otherwise. So I left the meeting. But the other reason I left the meeting, I'm going to read, because this came directly from the Integrity Commissioner. I had communication with her before the meeting. These are exact words. I'm not going to read you the whole letter, but these are the pertinent sentences, okay? You are not permitted to speak to the report, vote on any of the resolutions pertaining to the report, or influence other members of council regarding the report. You may not speak to the recommendation for removal from the Heritage Committee. It is our opinion that you're not permitted to speak to the financial penalty. In other words, I couldn't say a damn thing. And I couldn't tell you I had this because that would be speaking to the report. So that is why I didn't speak to the whole thing. Now, it's been resolved. You leveled the penalty, you booted me off the Heritage Committee, but what I wasn't able to tell you is the Integrity Commissioner never received my very lengthy, detailed response to that complaint. They never got it. That judgment was based on the complaint, not my response to it. With the problems that I've had with my iPad, and our Lindsay will confirm this because I've been working with her off and on. I didn't realize until the night before it was due that it hadn't gone out. I was here at a meeting and we both realized it hadn't been sent. She tried to send it on my machine from here. It looked like it had been sent. The next morning I found it still hadn't been sent. And I called the Integrity Commissioner before the due time, and I got an answering machine and I never get called back. So I'm guilty according to the Integrity Commissioner, but I'm guilty on partial evidence. My rebuttal was never received. And that is part of a problem. I honestly, I would like to see us have a discussion, not now, but let things settle down a bit in regards to this Integrity Commission. I read in the Recorder Times last week where the Township of Rideau Lakes has a problem with the Integrity Commission. They have received a report that their majority of their councillors flat out don't accept, they don't believe in, and they will not release it to the public. And they indicate a number of things in that I've experienced as well. There is problems with the system and it needs to be addressed. And the only way it can be addressed is if people like me who've had experience with it, and right now I don't think there's anybody on council in the province of Ontario who has more experience with the Integrity Commissioner than myself. And you're right, it's kind of funny in a way. Hey? I'm an overachiever. overachiever, yeah, what can I say? But there are problems here. They need to be addressed, and the only way things get changed and improved is if we discuss them, we decide there's a problem, and we petition the provincial government to make changes. And that is what I think is needed here. Now, this last complaint that has come to, I was going to say has come to us tonight. I kind of did. It came to us last week. This is, this one just blows my mind, to be honest with you. Despite the fact that the Integrity Commissioner has decided not to identify the complainer, when you read the complaints, it's not too friggin' hard to figure out who actually lodged the complaint by the wording. So this complaint came from a member of staff. A member of staff who is an employee of myself and this council. And this complaint came because I found out by a fluke, quite by accident, by bumping into somebody at a store, that they were planning on doing something, and what they were planning on doing had a bearing on our official plan. And it was something that, in my view, as a member of council, should have been discussed at council, and possibly, if council decided to attempt to do something about it, did something about it. But it didn't happen. And had there been a council meeting in between the time I discovered this and the time of the committee meeting that dealt with this, I would have brought it to council, but it didn't happen. So I went to the meeting with the expressed intention of attempting to get a deferral on the matter to their next meeting so it could be discussed as council. A member of staff attempted to prevent me from speaking, despite the fact that I had commented on another matter previous to that, which was before them, and I had no intention of commenting on that. It's just something that was said that had a bearing on some experience that I've had in council that I thought would be worthwhile. Anyway, the long and the short of it is this. This is a complaint that was lodged. It is vexatious. I answered it. The Integrity Commissioner agreed completely with my answering, and it was dismissed. Nothing was said or done here that was out of my role as a responsible member of council. And yet, people have been asking me, how much is this stuff costing? As a matter of fact, Councillor Burton last week, you alleged to the fact that people should be accountable isn't the word that you used. Do you remember what the word was?
Accountable for our actions.
Counselor,
Yeah.
I've been more than.
Yes, I know, and I appreciate it. I appreciate it. I have just one more brief thing to say. People have asked me, you aren't aware of it either, that I'm aware of. Last summer, the accusations, which did not allude to any breach of the code of conduct, cost us to have $4,325. The accusations over the course of the January, February, that included the ones I was found not guilty of, and the Heritage Committee amounted to $8,275. And this last complaint in regards to the committee I attended and spoke to was $3,010. That's $15,610. And the people responsible for the vast majority of that $15,610 sit here, don't admit it. My face gets plastered on the front page of the Recorder and Times. That's a decent picture. It could have been a lot worse. Many people have commented on it. One person said I need my mustache trimmed, but in any case, I'm happy with the picture. You can't buy publicity like that. But it's still $15,610. And I do not agree that somebody can throw mud at me. I'm declared innocent. I'm declared not guilty. And they, who are responsible for those accusations, can sit here and not admit it. And that's all I have to say. And I would like to say that I appreciate your indulgence in allowing me to say it. And thank you, Councillor Kirkby, for suggesting I be allowed to say it tonight. Hopefully that's the end of
Hopefully.
the whole situation and we can get on with our work as council.
All right, we have a mover and a seconder. I'm just going to call the question. All in favor? Pass, carried. Thank you. Item 7 is communications and petitions. There are items under that today? No items under that. Okay, sorry. 8 is consent reports. Under 8.1, we have information package. Is there anything anyone wants to see pulled out of the information package? I keep looking at you. I'll look that way. No? Mary, no? Very good. So the recommended motion is that all items listed in the consent report section of the agenda be accepted as presented. Can I have a mover and seconder? Councillor Kirkby, Councillor Lockett, all in favor? Carried, thank you. No committee reports. We're on to the mayor's talk today, and I just have a few things, pretty much just kudos. I want to send out kudos to the Terry Fox Committee. They've been going since 1982. I went there yesterday and brought greetings. They surpassed the $300,000 raised just for this community. They did $10,000 this year. They have some fantastic volunteers. I'm just going to name a few that I saw. Art and Jody Hitzman. Art was a Volunteer of the Year award winner. Sandra Gibson was there, and even Sharon Speechy. Now, you know, kudos to them. They've been doing it for many, many years. And congratulations. Hopefully, and they had a great day for it yesterday. So it was well done. More bikers now than runners and walkers. So that's kind of a nice little addition. We have a beautiful waterfront, so they were able to do that. The other thing I want to give kudos to is Spencerville Fair. I was there for the opening ceremonies. It was very well done. They had record numbers and they had great weather, like, you know, so good for them. They're so weather dependent, and there's been so many years that I've had mud up to my chin from being there. And so they had a really good turnout. I know there was a Legion Awards, but I'm going to let others that were there for that to present that. So that's my report. I'm going to move along here and start right here. Justin?
Thank you, through you, Mayor Shankar. I don't have much to report, just other than I was down around the Terry Fox run. A lot of people enjoying it. We were there the day before also, and I counted 30 people while we were down there walking the trail, and 12 dogs. So lots of people out using the waterfront and enjoying it. People at the beach downtown was busy. I've seen they started to remove the hanging baskets in preparation for the fall items and Remembrance Day stuff. And then the last but not least is just a reminder for all the watchers out there that this Saturday, September 21st, is Hazardous Waste Day at the Spencerville Fairgrounds, which Prescott's included in for Leeds and Grenville.
Oh, good. Thank you. Councillor Campbell?
As I mentioned at our last meeting, that was the exact same night that Fire Admin was having their meeting. And I discussed with Chief Mayor whether there was anything to report back to council. He said not at this time, but the next meeting I'll be attending.
Thank you. Councillor Burton?
Nothing for me, thank you.
Thank you. Deputy Mayor Young?
Thank you, Mayor Shankar. I attended the honors and award ceremony at the Legion yesterday. Great to see. It was really great to see how they acknowledged the partners that they're involved with. It's always good when you have somebody that offers their time or offers financial assistance, and then you actually recognize them. So that was really good to see. They gave out a lot of plaques, and Councillor Lockett was the beneficiary of one of them. And bingo is going to be held every week there now. So that was every Monday night. And I think that's everything. I think I saw Lance going in at the Coast Guard base today.
Yes.
So, yeah, that's all for me.
Thank you. Councillor Hall?
Thank you, Mayor Shankar. I attended one burial at the cemetery last week. I think if memory serves me correctly, we have 3 more before the end of the month. I attended on Friday, I believe it was, to have a conversation with the arborist who was looking at tree removal in the cemetery. There are 3 trees which need to come out, 1 more which our town was able to remove, but unfortunately was not able to do a complete job on it. I received the estimate for that today, which I will be passing along to you ladies tomorrow. It is, I think it's $2,600 if memory serves me correct. It is divided into the different parts of trees that need price to spend up to $2,000 on stone repair before. I've not done it. Part of the reason is I knew this tree work was going to have to be done. The way our cemetery is financed is the town, as you are aware, provides a grant to the cemetery every year, and that pretty much looks after the grass cutting. But other work that needs to be done, every time we sell a plot, part of the money goes to the province. It's invested, and we are paid back the interest on that investment every year. And it's kind of the hope of the cemetery committee that we can exist on the town grant and that interest without digging into our reserve in the bank. The reserve is there in case some disaster happens that we can use it for. So I didn't want to go ahead and do the tombstone repair. I knew this tree work was coming, so I wanted the cemetery board to decide whether we should go ahead with this monument repair in addition to the tree removal or just do the one this year. So we will have an answer on that shortly.
Thank you. Thank you, sir. Councillor Lockett?
Yeah, nothing for me tonight.
Okay, thank you. All right, we have 4 staff reports tonight. All of them are for information only, so that's good. The first one is 12.1, staff report 69-2024, the 2024 to 2027 strategic plan, action plan update from the CEO Treasurer, Matthew Armstrong. Matthew?
So before you update of the strategic plan now, we come back on a regular basis, report to council on the progress and continue moving items forward as we go along. So just a few highlights that obviously put in the application to the housing enabled water system funding intake number 1. We were unsuccessful in that. Have every intention of also submitting under intake number 2. That's part of how this becomes a live document, where back when we created this in April, we didn't know what that funding was. And so now that as opportunities come up, then we would take advantage of those and add them to the plan. Water towers are in completion that we're very happy to say. So with that, we'll be up and running before the end of the year. We have done the enhancement to the CIP, adding the additional 200,000. And we're also pleased to report that we had applications that fulfilled that $200,000 need. So that's certainly demonstrating the need for it, as well as people making investments on their own behalf, but with the town as a strategic partner. We're waiting on the zoning bylaw as well as housing options as we're working on recruitment of a joint planner with Prescott Cardinal. And then as you kind of go through and see, we've made notes in terms of what we've done to attract additional people to downtown, what we're continuing to do. We established the bylaw and then had 2 restaurant sold this year. We continue to work towards some of the projects in 2025. And as just was mentioned, that they are starting to and will be finished planting at the Coast Guard base. So really happy to see that. That was a joint project between the Coast Guard, town staff, as well as the vendor that's actually planting the plants. So that's moving along well. And more than happy really to answer any questions there might be. Obviously, there's a lot of work going on, and but still also a lot of work to do, and we're continuing to keep track for those longer term projects.
Thank you, Matthew. This is really an excellent, it's a word, not a graph, but
Great.
Grid's good, yeah. And I like the way it shows us where it is and the status each time. How often are we going to get this?
Our goal is quarterly, and if we can't do quarterly, then every 4 months. So either 3 or 4 times a year.
Great, thank you. Any questions? Councilor Burton?
Thank you. Just a comment. I was just going to echo Mayor Shankar. It shows the public too, what we're up to, what we've accomplished, what's ongoing, and I've said it before, we got a lot going on in our town. And thanks to our staff and all their hard work.
Thank you. Anyone else? Councilor McConnell?
Thank you, Mayor Shankar. I echo both of your comments. This is, if it's a grid, I don't know what to find a better word for it, but it's an excellent way to present this to council. However, what I see, there are some things here that are obvious. Very last thing on page 21, water tower nearing completion, fall 2024, self-explanatory. Nobody could well, ask it. I suppose somebody could ask, well, when in fall of 2024, but it's nearing completion. However, if you go up the page a little bit, engage with vacant and underutilized property owners zoned for residential use to understand their intentions for future development. And if you go to the back there, regular discussions with vacant landowners are ongoing. That doesn't tell me anything. That doesn't tell you anything. I would like a more thorough report to come to council on that, and if it has to be in camera because there are specific things that must be kept behind closed doors, so be it. But I think when we have a grid, if you will, such as this, and things are listed the way they are, then it precipitates questions on these things that explanation. And I'm sure staff is quite prepared to give us more explanation. All we got to do is ask for it. So I'm asking. The other thing that I noticed on page 29 of 59, or at least in what I have here, C1, it says attract water-based, I'm not sure I can pronounce it, experiential activities to the waterfront. And then it says pop-ups, non-motorized watercraft rental operators secured for 2025. Well, as we all know, we were asked for and given permission to buy a larger building for that express purpose. Summer. The building came. I haven't seen any non-motorized watercraft or rental of any sort. No explanation was ever given, and now we're told it's been secured for 2025. Information. Who? When? Why didn't they come the last time? Why wasn't council informed? That's all I have, Councilor Shankar, Mayor Shankar, thank you.
Anyone else? No. I think the land, no one has come forward.
It's that it's in abundance and we would have to sit council down for hours every meeting to take you through every single interaction that economic development has
For the vacant land?
for vacant residential.
Yeah, so I just want to make sure that we're staying at a priority and strategic goal setting as opposed to getting far into the weeds.
And for the pop-ups, I'm happy to update council right now and tell you that the operator simply changed their mind. They had some personal circumstances that changed and they pulled out and we've secured a new operator for 2025.
All right, thank you, Ken. Thank you, Ms. Valentine. All right. Seeing no further questions, we're gonna move on to the next staff report. Is staff report 70-2024. Project updates for 2024 from our CEO, Treasurer Matthew, and Director of Operations, Nathan Richard. This for information only. Which one of you, Nathan?
Thank you, Nick Shanker. I'll start and you can chime in whenever he wants or answer questions at the end. I'll just go through a few of them, it's kind of the high level ones. The water treatment plant filter upgrade. So last council meeting, council approved to award a contract to Rose Mechanical. So that work is kicked off and we'll see that installed probably next fall, spring, or next late summer, fall. So if we go down the list, let's see. I guess we go down. I guess the bottom one of the ones that the staff have worked on for the last couple of weeks is adding sound installation to the ACCC. So the cost was over 14,000 for materials, and then the labor was done in-house. It's nice red and blue colors, and it's easy to see, and hopefully it's producing absorbing some of those higher pitched sounds. And so it'd be interesting to get some feedback from the users and see if it's actually helping. We did place about 7,000 square feet of insulation or sound foam in there to absorb the sound at the top of the rink. Now we go down to some of the other projects. The water tower, as Matthew mentioned, that will be completed around the middle to the end of November. Or the new water tower will be filled up, and then the old water tower will be isolated, and then the system will start using the new water tower for the pressure to the distribution in the town. The breakwater improvements at the water treatment plant, those are ongoing, and I think all the approvals are completed and in, and the final tender documents are being prepared as well. And again, that's going to be a more of a winter project due to the timeframes that you can do that work. The second floor town hall renovations are done, thankfully, for everybody. It turned out pretty good. We had a lot of help from contractors and our staff to complete that work. So the guys in the group were really good to work on some of the details for us. Again, Matthew touched on the beautification or the work going on in front of the Coast Guard. We will have an HVAC unit at Town Hall. A contract has been awarded for that, so it'll be the middle unit. It's quite old, probably 20 years old, so it's on its last leg, still working, but it should be fixed before it actually doesn't work anymore. Some of the sidewalk work as well has been awarded to a contractor, and that will be probably in the coming weeks at the intersections of to make the intersections easier to come down on. Like the slope will be better, plus the traction plates as well. A couple of the intersections. So yeah, that's kind of a highlight of the more prominent projects. And if Matthew wants to add to it, he certainly can.
I think the only other one I wanted to point out was the sidewalk on the south end of George Street, linking the waterfront trail with the street. We have worked with the United Counties. They've approved our concept, and we're just working on getting quotes and awarding that work. So it will run just to the west of the parking lot at the United Counties building, and come kind of up and be able to provide an area for our chocolates to be able to clean that area as well. So it's very helpful that the United Counties agreed, and great work between the two to make that final linkage.
Right, thank you. Nathan, that second floor, I was just in there before the meeting. It looks fantastic. Yeah, it's been on our to-do list since I was sitting right over there. So finally glad to see it done. I know we saved a lot of money, and kudos to the gentleman working for the town that did a lot of the work. It looks great. I can't wait to see, like it's a beautiful venue for a wedding or a graduation or a birthday. It has a kitchen facility. Yeah, I feel like I'm selling it to the public, but it's fabulous, and good job to both of you. I'm gonna open it up for questions. Justin Kirkby.
Thank you. Through you, Mayor Schenker. I just have a couple of comments. Both the docks.
Sorry, not sure.
You want me to wrap? I can do it in a wrap. A&E looked good. I was at the rink, the ACC on Saturday night for the exhibition game, the juniors. The voice was much clearer, like I would say 80% clearer. So you could hear the announcement of goals and all that stuff, 50-50, right? The sound panels are blue and red and they look great. I know they were put up by our own staff and they look like professionally done. Fits the rink nice. The other thing I will just note that it's not on here, but the TV in there with all the information on it looks great, and the menu looks great. So I'll just add that to it. The ACCC. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Councilor McConnell?
A question, if I may, from Nathan, and I don't really know that you would have the answer for this. Perhaps Matthew might. In walking through the marina many times last summer, it looked to me like we had fewer boats than normal. Was that just because people were out, or did we actually have fewer boats? Did we have fewer slips rented this summer than other years? Is that something you know off the top of your head, or?
So did you want me to take it or? Okay. So yeah, I think all marinas are currently experiencing a decrease in the number of boats. I think it comes down to cost of ownership, cost of operating, and people are really expanding the size of their boat. So there's only a limited size that we can provide. We have no end in wanting for larger slips. But we can only accommodate up to a certain size. So I think what we're finding right now is a bit of a transition between smaller boats, larger boats. That's one of the reasons when we go to replace C and D is that we'll actually look to expand both fingers to allow for slightly larger boats, particularly on D, which is the same thing we did on E. Also promoting the deep water dock and generating revenue off that was a major initiative of the marina, and it worked quite well, as well as leaving the face docks of some of the docks open for transients for those larger docks or for those larger boats, because when you have a face dock, it's actually the length of both fingers on each side. And to be perfectly honest, it's much more lucrative to have multiple transients than one season slip over. So those are definitely some things that we're seeing. We're still generating what we expected to generate, but it's through just trying to accommodate the boats we can and the demand that's out there for larger boats.
Thank you. I did have a second question, which you may have answered. If we do have fewer slips rented, how has that affected our income or projected income for the marina for this summer? You mentioned we're still hitting our targets. Does that mean the amount of money we expected to take in, we have reached?
Correct.
So it's not going to affect then our maintenance schedule or replacement of docks in the future?
No, and that's certainly something that we're we're very cognizant of, and then making those additional changes to accommodate those larger boats. Because that's exactly the demand that we're seeing.
Very good, thank you.
Wonder,
Councillor.
just through you, Mayor Schenker. So Matthew, because you've got a lot of smaller docks to accommodate smaller things, is there any idea of getting more of the installation of the things for
See,
jet skis and stuff?
I think it's certainly something that we can look at. The only caution I have is they're about $3,500 a piece. So it takes a while to recoup. But I think we're at that point where we can bring that type of recommendation forward to say we're just not getting the demand for smaller boats, that sort of thing. And so, but we are seeing sea-doos and people wanting to rent them, and the preference is to have those. But I'll hand that over to Samantha.
Through you, Mayor Shankar, if council wants, we can bring a report to council to give you an idea, a better, clearer idea maybe of the demand that we are seeing there. Like Matthew already mentioned, the deep water dock has been very much an increase in rentals this year, or in bookings this year. I also too, as Matthew said, it's an industry-wide concern of the slips not being filled, but I would think that because of the expense of that hobby, we are seeing more sea-doos in our area and of interest that way. So I think it's certainly something to consider.
okay. Good. Thank you, Mr. Armstrong and Mr. Richard. We're going to move on to item 12.3, staff report 71-2024, the Seymour Recreation Complex. Outdoor activities and amenities. Update from our CEO Treasurer, Matthew Armstrong. Again, for information only. Matthew, you have the floor.
Thank you very much. So last June 2023, the design layout was approved. There was some suggestions on adding the playground area to phase one. So we took that back, have worked with the designer, that sort of thing. And really what you see in front of you is the final design for phase one, where we're able to accommodate the two full-size soccer fields. Then if you want to play just half fields, you can do that as well. There's a track that runs around all of the soccer fields that allows for multi-use, whether that's walking, driving a bicycle, those types of things. You can see the 3 pickleball courts in the southern portion, as well as 2 just to their north. Both both tennis and pickleball would have removable poles and nets. So that way, if we choose that, we could actually line it with poly and use that as the outdoor rink come winter. And so great base, you don't have it leaking into the ground, that sort of thing. You can keep it within that. And then there's actually a natural split for those that want to use it for skating versus those that want to use it for a game. So we've constantly had that type of issue when we have been having outdoor rinks over the last several years. We would also paint the pickleball courts or the tennis courts to accommodate pickleball, so that if there was a pickleball tournament, that you could have 7 courts being able to run at the same time. Now, one of the questions I had is, what if we turn them to face east-west? And what the designer said, and we use a specialized designer for recreation complexes, is that you want it to run north-south, thereby you're limiting the sun in your eyes. When you face east-west, you've got it in the morning or at night or in the evening. And so, that type of thought has gone into the orientation of the fields, exactly the layout. Moving just a little bit to the north is the playground area, and we were successful in being able to repurpose a very large playground that has a substantial useful life left to it. We'll refurbish it and be able to reinstall. The playground, when it was new, was probably the better part of $350,000. We're going to be able to put it back in place and have at least a decade of use for less than $30,000. So, and it really speaks to that being able to reuse. Just to the north of that, you can see that there's a skate pad And again, we're working with a local municipality that has unused equipment, skateboard equipment, that being able to add 2 ramps as well as a middle section, and then being able to add to that or replace it as we move forward. Otherwise, we're looking at, an additional 500,000 just for those 2 areas alone. And then finally, the last area being the basketball courts or multi-use. You could use it for ball hockey, whatever you particularly wanted. And so, really it tries to bring the most number of activities into that area, using an efficient use of space and using some logic around exactly how some of those are put together. So, the first phase is largely consists of site drainage. There is drains throughout the property to make sure that it's leveled the right way, and then there'll be drains that run to the drainage ditch. A lot of moving of the earth to try and reshape the overall area, and being able to really, the asphalt preparation, the paving, those types of things. And then the parking lot will obviously be used to support that phase 1 area. Then we're expecting the tender to go out this week for that work. It will be back in a few weeks' time. We'll bring the results to council and hopefully award the contract. And then they'll be able to do some work this fall, and then the remainder of the work next spring, and be ready for by the end of June of 2025. In the second phase, we talked earlier about a dog park, another parking lot, as well as baseball, whatever form that might look like. And so then we'll start working on those plans as well. You will notice that we have relocated the temporary dog park. It's kind of where it will end up being in the final phase. And staff have done a fantastic job of preparing that. I think within the next 2 weeks, the fencing of the current dog park will come down. We'll be reusing that for the new temporary / permanent dog park. And then once we complete phase 2, we put new fencing up, that sort of thing. We also, as part of the tender, took out some things that we're just cognizant of, the cost and what it might be up to. So things such as, do we leave the pavement black and just paint the lines on it for pickleball and tennis? Or do we actually paint it all in a color, blue, green, that sort of thing. So that's in a provisional that if it comes in at a great price and we're able to afford it, then you'd be able to add things like that. As well as there's a 10-foot tall fence behind the goals of each of the soccer nets. And so again, that's a nice to have, not necessarily an absolute must, but if it fits within the budget, great. If it doesn't, then it's something that we can add at a later date. So that's kind of really what the report kind of highlights, and looking to move forward and being able to make use of it in 2025. Thank you.
Thank you. Absolutely stunning. It looks, for a town of 4,200 people, this looks like something out of North York. So great job. I'm going to open it up. Councillor Campbell.
Just the pickleball tennis sharing situation. I was hoping that we could have a dedicated tennis court without the pickleball lines and the pickleball net and switching it and everything, but how would it work if it's set up for pickleball and someone wants to come play tennis? So they would have to replace the net?
No, so the intention is that the tennis courts would always sit as tennis. But if you were having some type of tournament, then we could switch them over into pickleball. But really, it would always sit as tennis. You have the 3 pickleball courts, the dedicated ones there. They would be used for pickleball. And only in a rare instance, or having a tournament, that sort of thing, then you would use it as a multi-purpose and use all 7.
Okay, all right, thanks.
But the intention is not to switch it every day and that sort of thing. There's 2 tennis courts, 3 pickleball courts, and, just allowing for the outside.
So if there was a tournament people would know about it, it'd be booked.
Absolutely. So, and that's an important part, is that if you want exclusive use of that, let's say for tournaments, things like that, then absolutely we would like to go through a booking process. I can hand that to Samantha.
Just through you, Mayor Shanker, if you haven't yet seen Augusta's new pickleball courts, that might serve as a good example. They still have their tennis net up as well. They don't have tennis lines, but they still have their net up, but the way that the pickleball courts are positioned allows the tennis net to stay up at all times, so it doesn't need to come down. And then they have temporary pickleball nets for the courts that are on the tennis court that can roll in and roll out when needed. So they have, I believe it's 4 courts, 4 pickleball courts that are permanent with nets that are like cemented into the ground. And then the other side of that is still a tennis court with 4 other pickleball courts, but they're more of a temporary use. So that could serve as a good example.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Kirkby? No? Councillor Burton? Sorry, I thought, sorry.
Thank you, Mayor Shanker. I just wanted to thank staff for putting in the play area. That was one of the things that I was really pushing for and really hoping for. I think this is spectacular. People are gonna, pardon me, people are gonna come from all over to play on our fields, and yeah, I could see schools going there as well. And school trips and stuff. Yeah, it's spectacular.
Councillor McConnell?
Thank you, Mayor Shankar. Speaking of playground, I just happened to be at the Public Works facility when they were unloading the used play structure, and I would say we got extremely lucky with that. So my compliments to whoever on staff snagged it. It is a substantial piece of equipment or pieces of equipment, and for what we paid for it, it's a bargain.
If I'd like to recognize Nathan, he did a great job. He came across it, put together the application, and it was a really short turnaround, and really sold what we could do with it. And I think Perth was really impressed with our ability to reuse and for years to come. So thank you, Nathan, for that.
Good job, man.
Thank you.
Thank you. Is there any other questions? I just want to ask, sorry, Matthew, can you just, is the outdoor hockey going to be on the tennis courts?
It'll be on the tennis and pickleball courts.
Okay.
And so that way, one of the things that we have experienced is that people don't necessarily stay off the ice while it's being constructed, which only creates more of a difficulty of trying to actually get it to a point where it can be used. So the fact that it's kind of completely enclosed by the chain link allows us a little bit more control. The fact that it's a flat level surface will help, and the fact that it's not going to just have the water seeping into the ground, that we can actually put the poly down plastic and then be able to hold that in should be a lot better in terms of being able to make ice as well as maintain it.
And the fence won't be destroyed by pucks?
We will definitely want to put boards along the fence, and so making sure that is a concern as well.
Because I know my shot's not very hard, but it's not very straight either, so. Okay, thank you. Councillor Campbell?
Through you, Mayor Shanker, just a comment. I've always done outdoor rinks on grass, but putting it black asphalt down, would that?
We're creating a surface that reflects.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you, great job. That is gonna be the envy of all communities. So. Yeah, sorry. Item 12.4, staff report 72-2024, the street repaving update from our Director of Operations, Nathan Richards, and advance for information only. Floor is yours, sir.
Thank you, Mayor Shanker. So June Council approved the repaving scope for 2024. The bulk of that was Prescott Center Drive, and provisional areas were doing repaving on King Street from the intersection of King Street and in medical center, Boundary Road between Churchill and the tracks, and then Churchill Road East between Massey Drive and Boundary Road. As the Prescott Center Drive was going to be widened for a multi-use path, an engineering package was created to fully detail the work that was required for that. And the tender was released September 11th. We did receive 4 submissions. The range was 454,000 to 480,000 plus HST for Prescott Center Drive and provisional areas. So I think that was something that had come up in June. Council was concerned that the prices might come in, in a range that maybe just met the budget. It's a little bit lower in the budget, but it did include everything. So it was a very competitive bidding process, and the 3 of the lowest submissions were within $3,853 of each other, and an overall variation of the highest to lowest of 6%. So it's a very competitive bidding process. Tomlinson submitted the lowest tender amount, and they'll be awarded the contract. And the town has also been, so there's some companies around there that will be impacted. One of them is McDonald's, and Matthew's been in contact with them to make sure that they understand kind of what we need to do and how we can minimize the disruption to their drive-through process as we get that work done for that little section between Prescott Center Drive going into the hotel. So the work is expected to be done prior to the end of October. So there's a tight timeline to kind of fit that in, but hopefully it'll be done around that time frame. So on the financial side of things, the amount of funding that's allocated is close to 500,000, and the design and the construction and the material testing estimate will fit about that funding of about 500,000. And then one of the benefits is that there will be a multi-use path that will be delineated on part of that road, and that will encourage active transportation for pedestrians, cyclists, and mobility devices. And then we're also going to put in some improved pedestrian safety with crossing the streets with a controlled crosswalk around McDonald's going over to the Ultramart gas station, and then a passive crosswalk as well to help for transportation on that roadway. That's it.
Great, thank you, sir. Any questions for Mr. Richard? Councilor McConnell?
Thank you, Mayor Shankar. It occurred to me, if my memory is correct, that the entrance for the new hotel is in that area. Well, is there any curbing or anything being done to accommodate that in this work? Or is that something that hotel is going to look after and it's going to abut that we're going to be doing?
So oddly enough, it is a public roadway. So basically where McDonald's comes out of their drive-through, when you head to the west, that whole portion of pavement that comes back to Prescott Center Drive is a roadway. So what we're doing is removing that pavement, building up the base to be a proper roadway, and putting in the entrance to the hotel as the public roadway. And then they'll abut to the roadway. Ultimately, if it can be done at the same time, that'd be fantastic. We are in conversation with the hotel. And then there'll be a stop sign at the end of the McDonald's drive-through where they'll stop, make sure that no one's coming, and then proceed into the roadway.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Question for Councilor Kirkby?
Through you, Mayor Shankar. The multi-use path, which will primarily be used in the non-winter season. Is there any thought of putting some kind of separation or barriers there? Because it will be new. So in some places, they actually add parking curbs along that to prevent traffic from entering in that section. Other places you can knock them down if you hit them with your vehicle, but you have to use hardware into the pavement to secure them. Just wondering about something just to maybe think about when we put it up there. I know in Quebec, they actually have permanent curb on that separates the road from that pathway to the sidewalk, right? But I don't think that's in our budget or what we want to do. It would make it hard for plowing. But just an idea to create a bit of a barrier because it's a busy road, right? And,
Trucks.
you know, there's more and more scooters on the road, and I'm sure these scooters, because of the complexity at times of entering and exiting sidewalks, will choose to use these multi-paths more than a sidewalk. Just something to think about, adding some extra security or awareness for drivers.
So it obviously will be lined on the pavement, and you're exactly right. During the winter, we prefer not to have that delineation. During the summer, it's certainly something that we can look at, very similar to what we did in front of the bank, in front of both banks, and just being able to do that, to delineate between the two.
Yeah.
But yeah, it would create a lot of obstacles to be able to keep it clean from a winter perspective.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. Good point.
Excuse me, Justin makes a very good point there. And it's something just occurred to me while I was making the point. What about that, I don't know what they call it or what the machine does, but along the 401, when you get out so far, you know, your tires hit it and it's blah, 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 and it's a very noisy thing. What if, is it possible to do something like that along there? So if a car hits that as noisy, because you're not going, but it should still be noticeable.
I think those are effective at that speed, right? But they may not be as effective with 10, 20, 30 kilometers an hour.
It might not be, but I think you would still notice the jolt to your car. I mean, it might be worth looking into.
Yeah, we'd be happy to look into it, and I'm pretty sure you can add those rumble strips at a later date, just with how the machine works, and so it's something that we'll talk about with the BBB and see if it's feasible this year, and if not, then it could be something that we look at for 2025.
Thank you, sir. Oh, you have a further one?
Just a comment, having cycled beside rumble strips, if you fall into them, or if a scooter falls into them, there's a propensity for you to pitch over into the traffic, so you'll have to weigh that one.
Good point. I'm sure UVB will know more than the rest of us, but thank you. All right, thank you for that. We're gonna move on to item 13 is resolutions, and we have one resolution tonight. The recommendation reads that council appoint Daniel Stashik to the Prescott Heritage Committee for the remainder of the term of council. Can I have a mover and seconder for that? Deputy Mayor Young and Councillor Burton. Any further discussion on this? I know we talked about it last meeting. All in favor? Congratulations, Daniel. Thank you for putting your name forward, and look forward to the next meeting. As bylaws, there's one bylaw for approval tonight. It's bylaw 39-2024, the recreation fee bylaw. Recommendation reads that bylaw 39-2024, being a bylaw to establish general facility rental fees and service charges in the town of Prescott, be read and passed, signed by the mayor and clerk, and sealed by the seal of the corporation. Can I have a mover and seconder on this one? Councillor Kirkby, Councillor Campbell. All in favor? Gary, thank you. Okay, new business. One item on our new business tonight, it's the 15.1 City of Quinte West, Canada Community Building Fund Resolution. Councillor Kirkby requested this item to be added to the agenda. Floor is yours.
Thank you, through you, Mayor Shankar. The Canada Community Building Fund, also CCBF, is a stable, predictable, and index source of funding provided upfront to provinces and territories, who in turn flow this funding to their communities. It allows such as road, public transit, water, wastewater, infrastructure, and recreational facilities. The Association of Municipalities of Ontario administers this fund, 143 municipalities across Ontario. poor infrastructure and assets in most of the municipalities, like Prescott, although I feel we're addressing them very well, are aging in need of replacement and upgrades. Along with the cost of everything else, everything rises. The notice of motion received by the city of Quinte outlines the gap in federal infrastructure funding and calls upon the federal government to provide a supplement to the allocations provided to municipalities under AMO CBBF agreement 2024-2028. So with that being said, I'd like to make a motion to support Quinte West's
You're
resolution.
gonna move that motion?
Yes, I will.
Need a seconder, Councilor Burton? All in favor? Carried, thank you. All right, no notice of the motion tonight, but there are two proclamations. Good thing I got my glasses tonight. All right, the first one is Rail Safety Week. September 23rd to 29th is considered Rail Safety Week. Whereas Rail Safety Week is to be held across Canada from September 23rd to 29th, 2024. And whereas 229 railway crossing and trespassing incidents occurred in Canada in 2023, resulting in 63 avoidable fatalities and 39 avoidable serious injuries. And whereas educating and informing the public about rail safety, reminding the public that railway rights of ways are private property, enhancing public awareness of the dangers associated with highway rail grade crossings, ensuring pedestrians and motorists are looking and listening while near railways, and obeying established traffic laws will reduce the number of avoidable fatalities and injuries caused by incidents involving trains and citizens. And whereas Operation Lifesaver is a public/private partnership whose aim is to work with the public, rail industry, governments, police services, media, and others to raise rail safety awareness. And whereas CN and Operation Lifesaver have requested municipal councils adopt this resolution in support of its ongoing efforts to raise awareness, save lives, and prevent injuries in communities, including the municipality of the town of Prescott. Now therefore be it resolved that the council of the corporation of the town of Prescott does hereby proclaim September 23rd to 29, 2024 as Rail Safety Week in the town of Prescott, dated today, 16th of September, 2024. Chief, you want me to read this one? Or you want to read it? October 6th to 12th will be Fire Prevention Week. All right, whereas Town of Prescott is committed to ensuring the safety and security of all those living in and visiting the town of Prescott, and whereas fire is a serious public safety concern both locally and nationally, and homes are the location where people are at greatest risk from fire, and whereas smoke alarms detect smoke well before you can, alerting you to danger in the event of fire, in which you may have just seconds to escape safely. And whereas working smoke alarms save lives by providing early warning of fire so you and your family can safely escape. And whereas smoke alarms reduce the risk of dying in a home fire by more than 50%. Whereas the town of Prescott's residents should be sure everyone in the home understands the sounds of the alarms and knows how to respond. And whereas residents who have planned and practiced a home fire escape plan are more prepared and will therefore be more likely to survive a fire. And whereas Town of Prescott's residents will make sure their smoke and carbon monoxide alarms meet the needs of all their family members, including those with sensory or physical disabilities. And whereas the Town of Prescott's first responders are dedicated to reducing the occurrence of home fires and home fire injuries through prevention and public fire safety education. And whereas the Town of Prescott residents are responsive to public education measures and are able to take personal steps to increase their safety from fire, especially in their homes. And whereas Fire Prevention Week 2024 reminds Town of Prescott's residents that working smoke alarms make a life-saving difference in a home fire, giving people the time to get out safely. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Council of the Town of Prescott does hereby proclaim October 6th to 12th, 2024 as Fire Prevention Week and urges all the residents of Prescott to ensure they have working smoke alarms and to support the many public safety activities and efforts of Prescott's fire and emergency services. Dated this 16th day of September, 2024. All right. Any questions from the media? No questions from the media. Okay, item 19 is closed session. The recommended motion reads that council move into closed session at 7:20. Discuss matters pertaining to approval of closed session minutes and sale potential purchase. Under section 239(2)(c) of the municipal act, the proposed or pending acquisition or disposition of land by the municipality or local board, and that the CAO, treasurer, clerk, ED officer, and deputy clerk remain in the room. Can I have a mover and seconder, please? Councillor Lockett, Councillor Kirkby. Discussion?
Can I say something before we vote on this?
Sure.
I believe this is Nathan's last meeting with us. And he's not in for this, so he's leaving us. I've already spoken to him privately, but I would like to extend council's appreciation. I think we're all grateful for the job that he's quietly done in the last few years that he's been here. He's one of those people that sometimes you don't notice he's there because he's not in your face, but he's done his job. He's done it well, and I think we all appreciate it. Thank you, Nathan, and thank you. Good luck.
Good call. On that note, like you look at the number of projects that we've had while Nathan's been in charge, it's been fantastic. And, you know, you've left quite a resume behind with that and big shoes to fill, which we might start looking at soon. So, yeah, we do appreciate everything you've done and we're very proud of you and we're very happy for you that you're moving on in a better direction.
Thank you. It's yeah, I appreciate that. It's been good to work here. It's a lot of moving parts and a lot of active projects and you know, thanks to council and the staff and management here. Yeah, I've learned a lot since I've been here and you know, I hope that I've contributed as much as I've learned and yeah, leave that behind and go on to the next step.
Every time you drive through, you can point at, you know, I did that. So that's always neat to do. But thank you for that, Councillor McConnell.
Yes.
I'm gonna call the question. All in favor? Carried. We'll just take a 4 or 5 minute comfort break. There is a washroom on this level now. Okay. Thank you. Rise and report. During the closed session, council approved the closed session minutes from September 3rd, 2024 under item 19.1 and received information and provided staff direction on item 19.2, purchase and sale. Item 21 is a confirming bylaw. The recommendation reads that bylaw 40-2024, being a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of the council meeting held today, September 16th, 2024, be read and passed, signed by the mayor and clerk, and sealed by the seal of the corporation. Can I have a mover and seconder, please? Councillor Burton, Deputy Mayor Young, all in favor? Carried, thank you. Last one is adjournment. The recommendation reads that the meeting be adjourned to Monday, October 7th, 2024 at 6 p.m. Time is now 8:07 p.m. Moved by Councillor Kirkby, second by Councillor Lockett. All in favor? Thank you, everyone.